Hello everyone, this is Joelle Simone Anthony, the Grave Woman, and this week the video is entitled 3 Things That Every Family Needs to Know Before Someone Passes Away. Now, I originally wrote a blog about this topic entitled 3 Things That Every Black Family Needs to Know Before Someone Dies back in February during Black History Month. But over the last few months, I've gotten messages and just read some horror stories, and I think that there's a huge misconception about the actual role of the funeral home and the funeral service practitioner's job when you go to the funeral home to be serviced. Now, I want to apologize in advance if what I'm about to say comes off as harsh, but I have to be honest with you all. A lot of the messages that I have received have been focused on the financial aspect of paying for a funeral, and you guys telling me, well, I went to the funeral home and I really didn't have the money, and they either, from what you guys are telling me, were willing to work with you and you didn't see the value in the services being offered to you. So it's almost like you were expecting a service without wanting to pay for it. I'm just going to be honest. Now, this video is not directed at any one person who sent me a comment or an email or a direct message. This is an umbrella conversation because I want you guys to be clear about what the role of the funeral home and the funeral service practitioners are when you're experiencing a loss. Now, funeral service is exactly that. It's a service. The professionals that you're dealing with are there to service you and your family. Just like when you go to the doctor or you go to a restaurant, it's the job of your physician or your waitress to provide you a service. I think that the issue is that because death is an event that many of us only experience maybe once or twice or maybe 3 times in our lives, we don't understand that, the practitioners and the employees that are offering you these services and the establishment that are offering you these services, those services have a significant value not only to you and your family, but to society as a whole. So without further ado, I'm going to get into the 3 things that everyone needs to keep in mind before or consider before someone dies. As I said, I've written a blog about this, so if you see me kind of looking to the side or looking away from the camera, I'm referring to the blog that I've written. I'm going to post this blog again on my website so that it appears as this week's highlight. So make sure that you visit www.thegravewoman.com/blog and check it out, because it's going to go into a lot more detail than I have time to go into right now. So the first thing that you need to consider or keep in mind when someone passes away, regardless of your financial situation, regardless of your socioeconomic status, regardless of your color, your race, your religion, or anything else like that, is that it is the role of the funeral home and the funeral service professionals to comfort, provide guidance, products, and professional services to those who are grieving and experiencing loss. It is not the job or responsibility to compensate for your lack of preparation. And by that I mean, a lot of times when someone comes into the funeral home office, they're completely emotional. And when you're completely emotional, sometimes we as human beings have a tendency to be reactional and irrational. You're experiencing a loss. This is one of the most traumatic experiences that you may have in life. Nobody is experiencing this experience outside of you and your family, and that is completely understandable. But as individuals and as families, I honestly believe that it is our responsibility to have conversations about our end of life and our death and funeral desires. The funeral director's job is to offer you services and to cater to you while you're in their care, and many times beyond. But it's not their job to compensate for your lack of preparation. If you and your family have never had a conversation about death, or you and your family are arguing at the funeral home, the funeral director can do their best to guide you, but it is not their responsibility to fix whatever dynamics or lack of conversation or anything like that that you've had in your family up until this point. Unfortunately, that is no one's responsibility but yours. The second thing that I want to touch on is that GoFundMe is not a life insurance policy. I have had countless families come, into the cemetery when I was working at the cemetery, and also into the funeral home without the financial resources to pay for a funeral. And that is understandable to an extent. How many of you guys out there can tell me where you're going on your next vacation? How many of you can tell me what your plans are for the weekend? How many of you can tell me exactly what it may cost to bury a loved one if someone were to die unexpectedly? A lot of people don't know. And I feel like though it is the funeral service establishment and the funeral service practitioners and professionals' job to inform and educate you, it's also your personal responsibility to plan for that. So many people are walking around today without life insurance. They don't know how to collect life insurance from their employers. They don't know, some people don't know where their next meal is coming from. So it's understandable that they may not have budgeted or have money or funds allocated for their funeral and burial. But if you're a middle class working individual, if you're a human being, period, in my opinion, death is something that's going to happen. GoFundMe is not the answer. Fish fries are not the answer. Depending on others to come in and rescue you is not the answer. It is extremely disheartening to me when I see, friends and family members posting GoFundMe pages because they don't have the resources to bury their loved ones. Now, there are situations where the death of a child or, just a complete freak accident or something happens and a family in a not so great or great financial situation doesn't have the money. And I believe that funeral homes, for the most part, do their best to work with and for the communities that they're in. But it is not our responsibility to compensate for your lack of preparation financially for handling end-of-life expenses. And that's just the bottom line. The third thing that I want you to keep in mind, excuse me as I scroll down, is that your employer is not responsible for notifying you or your family about the insurance benefits that are available to you. And by insurance, I mean life insurance. A lot of us are really, really big sticklers about our health insurance, but most companies in the United States in particular, if you work for them or have worked for them for a certain amount of time, they offer life insurance benefits. And there's a process and there are things that you need to know about claiming those benefits that we'll explore at another time. But it's not your employer's responsibility to let you know about those things. Again, my name is Joelle Simone Anthony. I'm also known as the Grave Woman. And I hope that this video has been informational to you. Please take the time to share and tag people who you think may find this information valuable. Make sure you're following The Grave Woman on all social media outlets, and make sure that you're subscribed to this YouTube channel. Live life, love hard, and I'll talk to you next time.